Hey guys, how are you? My name is Wilson once again. Today I will present for a second bachelor of high school. So I got this next topic today, which is healthy habits, which is one of the things very important to how people are getting acquainted with some healthy diet actually and issues about food, about how people are getting a great diet for great health. Okay, so next part, what we have to do is we're going to TFL objectives, and here, as we know, this I created each lesson plan about the first four parameters about listening, speaking, writing, and reading. So each of those parameters has maybe different statements about the first listening. I warm up my activity with a video, which is in this fact my students are listening about some how people are getting acquainted with some good diet, some good habits, about when people are not getting good habits about food, about some process, people that doesn't make any exercise. So, and that's and the next step out, speaking, are my students be able to create themselves a pretty small conversation about some activities, about the daily routines activity, about healthy food, and how to prevent some maybe some sickness in the future. Reading, so this part of reading are make them my students choosing some a small or short story about how to prevent some different sickness and be able to reading and other, which is very important to my students recognize a new vocabulary. As a matter of fact, the students are critical think and analyze somehow being writing some of these words, and basically that's what it is actually. And we're going to go into the next step how, which is writing. So writing skills are great, and I think about this on my personal opinion actually that the students are be able to write, because it's different if my students are not be able to how to speak, but the different thing is how to write things or how to write terms and sentences. So that's why I created this part of writing, and make them as students write a small story about good habits about food and health as well. Okay, on the next statement, we are going to methodology and strategies. And the first part, I'll think about in this healthy habits lesson plan, I've been creating two methodologies. And the first one is direct method, and the second one is deductive approach. And the first one, direct method, is being applied some new suggestions from my students, and basically is how I respond back each some terms. If you two or three or four students, I've been creating some different statements on this actually. And then the next, the deductive approach. So this part is really important. Why? From my perception, I will write some structures, right? So analyzing this part, creating some few structures. But in this case, it's really important that my students are know how I write and how the context is being getting to the next level. So my students are deductive how I get into these sentences and what is for and why I created for. So deductive approach is one of the approach that are being focused students are analyze and synthesize some new terms and new words and new vocabulary. Okay. So the next part is strategies, and going on to the first one, which is a whole class work. And this part is really and shares actually why my students are creating a whole bunch of groups of students, and I choose one of them to get him to the front to the board to the teacher, and created a whole activity basically about the whole evidence healthy and how people are being conscious about eating properly, eating great, and now eating some fast food, which is not good, right? And also we are going to pair response and editing. So this part is in this process, our students will be able to have some different critical analysis about how they have to be creating some sentences and structure about the this topic, health habits. Okay, and the next topic is anticipatory set, which is my personal opinion. I think about like my students are need to be more conscious that the habits healthy. It's good and it's important. If you don't have any problems, if you don't want to have any problems in the future about damages, stomach damage, headache damage, body situations. So in fact, students are being unconscious that they have to exercise, they have to go out and swimming, they have to make some practices, different exercises, or people creating for it. Okay. And the next step of main teaching input, it's one of the most important basis of my lesson plan, is because our students, first of all, how I have to do in the first terms of main teaching input, I work map my activities with some different exercise. So in fact, I created some different statements about some, I separate and I compare which is a fast food and which is a good food or healthy food actually. So in this part, what I have to do is make them conscious. The students are create themselves any part of the day how to eat is good to the process to have a healthy life or a healthy life as well. So in this part, we are going to go next stop modeling is about this part creating to my students worksheets. Basically, that's what it is. Okay, here we have some different activities and different things how creating good health habits, and those students are critical think about like each and analyze each by one how in the process they're creating this part. And also in this part, students are going to be working on worksheets and words on a few sentences and use maybe present simple present or present continuous or maybe simple past, and those whole structures I've been creating for. Okay, on the next part, good practice, and this part is just important because I make them my students create a whole response and questions, but at the same time I've been answering questions if they had any doubts on the process about teacher, maybe what happened to me if I eat some burgers all the time, if I eat French fries or fried chicken, and I'd be able to tell them like how is the effect, motivation. Think about people are not getting a healthy diet or maybe a healthy life. Okay, on the next process, on independent practices, on this part I make them created one statement about for better living tips. So I make them tips out, like for example, Carlos, if you're getting up at 6 in the morning, if you are maybe exercising, so making push-ups for like 10 or 15 minutes, and also how the process to getting a healthy life when maybe you eat vegetables, any kind of vegetables, carrots, spinach, broccoli, and the fact of when people are not getting in this a healthy life, and they got some disordering food, and they got some sicknesses in the future, and that's when in fact the students are getting more conscious about this topic. And the next part, assessment. So in this part, I evaluate my students about a whole writing test. I make the writing test for 10 questions about each student, and in the process, I make them to students recognize healthy food and fast food. So, and how this works on and how to create it and have a good healthy food, or maybe how to create a health habits. For example, if you have a good habits, your life will be better and you have a better health. It's because you are making exercise, you eat healthy, you eat some kind of vegetables, and that's the fact my students are know this part. And to finish them off, closing review F and follow up, I make my students create a whole conversation between them, and also make them evaluate for questions as well. If Jennifer eats pizza every day, she will get bad at some point. But if Anthony eats healthy food, he will have a healthy and a healthy life. So in fact, that's how I finish and how I present my 4 lesson plan about healthy habits. Thank you guys. See you next class.